You know that feeling, right? That buzz in the air when a new smartphone is announced. It's going to be faster, it's going to be smarter, and the camera? Well, a camera is going to change your life. They always give it some cool, dramatic name, like your new superpower. But have you ever just stopped for a second and wondered what's really going on behind all that marketing? Okay, let's get into it.
Here's a prediction you could make, I don't know, weeks, even months before a new phone is even announced, and you'd almost certainly be right. It's become such a safe bet because the whole cycle is just so predictable. A few tiny tweaks, a new catchphrase, and yeah, a higher price tag. Every single year.
And that really brings us to the heart of the matter. This feeling we get of constant, revolutionary progress, it's mostly an illusion. Yeah, the launch events are spectacular, but the actual year-over-year changes, for the most part, they are incredibly small.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. The companies kind of tell you themselves. If you just look at this comparison straight from Apple's own website, you can see it plain as day. Look closely. From the 14 to the 16, okay, the chip gets a little bit faster, the port changes to USB-C, you get an action button, then a Cano button. But the phone itself, the fundamental device, come on, it's basically the same thing.
So this is the big question, isn't it? If the technology isn't really taking these huge leaps forward anymore, what on earth is compelling millions of us to replace a perfectly good phone every year or two? Well, the answer has way less to do with technology and a lot more to do with psychology.
And you guessed it, this doesn't happen by accident. That constant desire you feel for the new model is a very carefully engineered feeling. It's a trap, and it's designed to make the amazing piece of tech you have in your pocket right now feel old, slow, and totally obsolete.
So, companies use two main strategies to pull this off. On the one hand, you have planned obsolescence. That's the physical stuff. You might remember the whole scandal back in 2017 when Apple was caught intentionally slowing down older iPhones. But what's arguably even more powerful is psychological obsolescence. This is the art of making your phone, which works perfectly fine, feel inadequate, just by using clever marketing and a whole lot of social pressure.
So let's break down how that works. Think about that new camera button on the latest iPhone. I mean, you could already set the action button from last year's model to do the exact same thing. So why add it? Well, it's a subtle visual cue. It's a signal to everyone around you that you have the newest, shiniest, most desirable model. It's not really about function. It's all about social status.
But wait, I hear you say, what about real innovation? Surely things like foldable phones break this pattern, right? Well, not so fast. It turns out even the most exciting new designs follow a surprisingly familiar formula.
Let's talk about them. Foldable phones from companies like Samsung and Motorola are genuinely cool. I mean, they feel new, different, exciting. A lot of people see them as the first true evolution in how a smartphone looks and feels in years. But are they really changing the game, or are they just changing the playbook?
We've absolutely seen this before. Do you remember Touch ID? That tech was pioneered on Android devices for years before Apple perfected it and made it mainstream. It's the same pattern over and over. A new idea shows up on Android, a ton of hype gets built up, and then we start to realize that the innovation, like having to physically open your phone every single time you use it, actually adds an extra, sometimes pretty inconvenient step to a simple task.
Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you've got this growing trend of people rejecting smartphones entirely for so-called dumb phones. They're hoping to disconnect. And look, it's an appealing fantasy, it really is, but for most of us, it's just not realistic.
Why? Because our daily lives are completely woven into these devices now. I mean, just think about it. You're messaging friends on WhatsApp, paying for parking with an app, calling an Uber, scanning a QR code for a menu at a restaurant. These aren't luxuries anymore. They are the basic tools we use to navigate modern life. Trying to go without a smartphone today is basically choosing to make your life way harder.
So, if upgrading is a trap, and ditching your phone altogether is impractical, what are you supposed to do? Well, this brings us to the final, and I think most important point. It's time to reframe this whole conversation and realize where the real power is.
Here's the thing. You need to forget all the marketing slogans, all the promises of a life-changing new chip or some revolutionary camera. The biggest, most impactful feature being offered this year has absolutely nothing to do with any of the new devices.
Your real superpower is just resisting the hype. It's recognizing that the amazing phone you already own is more than capable of doing everything you need it to do. Holding on to it for another year, or maybe even longer, is the most powerful move you can possibly make against this whole cycle of mindless consumerism. So ultimately, it's not about choosing between the iPhone 16 or the new Samsung Fold. The real question is whether you even need to choose at all.
You see, the technology is kind of plateaued, but the pressure to buy is stronger than ever. So, take a look at the perfectly good device in your hand right now. How long are you going to hold out?